In this video, we will be discussing what SEO strategies work right now. With SEO today, you always want to look good in Google's eyes. So you always want to look good to them. Primarily, that's where most of your traffic comes from, and they tend to make the rules, therefore you want to follow them. Google relies on many ranking factors beyond just keywords when they look at websites. Small factors can impact rankings between websites, and so you want to make sure you have every advantage possible. It's kind of like a football game or a chess match where you're always trying to find any weakness or vulnerabilities in your competition's websites that you could exploit and do better on your own site so that you can outrank them. Sometimes it'll come down to the littlest things with SEO. It is simply strategies website owners use to increase ranking and traffic from the search engines. Those are the little factors you want to be looking at. Keyword placement is very, very important. They show relevance, but do not go overboard here. So that means when you're actually going to be using keywords within your website, you want to show and use them where it makes sense, but you also don't want to stuff keywords. So if your phrase is like the blue fox, you don't want to just write a sentence with the blue fox 25 times over and over in a paragraph or on the same page. It's not going to flow. It's not going to sound good. If it reads well, if the content is easy to read when you reread it back, or if you read it out loud, or if you're going through your content, then it's going to be sufficient. Now, if your content is out there and it does not flow, it's stuffed with keywords, it's not going to, if you don't talk that way, then people aren't going to want to read that way either. Anchor text of websites going to you should be normal. So these are all little factors to look at when you're trying to do search engine optimization today. So that means anchor text, so links going into your website should be normal. It just not that long ago, people were trying to put their keywords in the anchor text. And the anchor text is that blue underlined text that you see on a pages. Sometimes it'll say click here. Sometimes if you had an article about improving your golf swing, it might say improve your golf swing, and that would be blue and underlined, and that would link over to a website. Back not that long ago, it used to actually be a really nice ranking factor if your keywords were there. Now Google today has really cracked down on that, and they want it to be more normal. So they want to see phrases like click here, click this link, read more, just the website itself. So www.firstgolftips.com if that's your golf website, whatever your website might be, your website domain.com. www.yourwebsite.com. So you just want to vary those, but you also don't want to stuff your keywords. That's actually a factor that Google's looking at because they're thinking people that were doing high concentration of links that had keywords in them, and especially the same keywords, they were actually penalizing websites more recently. And so if you're doing that in your campaign, you need to stop doing that, start being more normal when you're obtaining links, and we'll talk more about link building later in this course. But also, you need to be careful about trying to change those links if you have those out there, because Google is really cracking down on that and they're really looking into that. Anchor text, again, it's that blue underlined text. Sometimes it's green, depending on the color scheme the website chooses. But you'll understand what I'm seeing on any page. It's that blue underlined text. Sometimes it'll say click here. So whenever you're reading on a website and maybe there's a website link and it's hyperlinked, then that is actually what the anchor text is. So whatever text is in there, whether it's a website URL or whether it says improve your golf swing, or whether it says get back with your ex, or whatever the phrase is, whatever content it's promoting, that would be the anchor text. So that's one thing with SEO today you really want to be careful of, is making sure your anchor text is normal, that it's not stuffed with keywords. Just like keyword placement on your site, and these are all small factors that make a difference. Your reputation is huge to Google, absolutely enormous. So that involves things like social signals, quality content, and social engagement. So social signals, those are things related to, how Google views you socially. Like, are people basically sharing your website links, like your content? Are they sharing it on Twitter? Are they sharing it on LinkedIn perhaps? Are they sharing it on Pinterest, on Facebook? Are they, where are they sharing it? Is it found on other blogs? Are you finding links from other blogs out there in your niche space that are linking to your content? Is your content quality? Are people staying on your website for a long time? Are people just landing on your site and quickly bouncing away from your website? Google really looks at all these factors. Social engagement, meaning while they're on your website, are they interacting with your content? Are they leaving comments? Are they actually engaged in your content? Are they, again, sharing your content? Google looks at all these factors, and we'll get into that as we go along in this course about how you can improve these. But these are factors with SEO today that you need to be focused on, because Google assumes that if your site is getting shares on throughout Twitter, throughout Facebook, and they're getting natural shares and natural likes, meaning you're not paying for 500 shares or 500 tweets or something that looks unnatural. They can actually pick up on those kind of things, but it's actually naturally growing, or naturally you're getting a certain amount of shares and likes, and you're getting a certain number of people to comment and engage with your content. Then that's going to improve your reputation score, because they figure if your content's good enough to be shared, then it's good enough for their website visitors to come to it. Ultimately, Google wants to give their customers, or their audience, meaning people that are using the Google search engine, they want to give them the best quality content possible, because that means they're going to stay with Google. They're going to come back. And if they're finding that they're getting a lot of spam, they're going to jump to Bing, they'll jump to Yahoo, they'll go to ask.com, they'll go somewhere else besides Google. And so that's very important that they are serving up the best results. And therefore, they look at things like reputation. And that means you need to have certain plugins. You need to enable people to be able to share your content, because ultimately it's going to help you as well, because you're getting additional traffic as well. Responsive or mobile friendly websites. This is absolutely enormous for SEO today. Google places a big weight on responsive websites. And when I say responsive website, I'm actually talking about a website that is actually mobile responsive, meaning if I went to your website or my website on a mobile phone, does it display well? Does it display good within my mobile device? If your website is not optimized for mobile, it's going to look stretched out. You're going to have to, if you land on a website and you have to scroll in, like you actually have to zoom in on the content to read what's on the website, your website's not mobile friendly. And so to make it mobile friendly, there's quite a few different things you can do, and we'll get into mobile responsive websites as we go along in this course. But it's very big. Actually, Google looks at that factor, because an increasingly number of people, a very large increase of mobile users are coming across and using the search engines. And so if your website is not mobile friendly, not only is it not good for your visitors, it's not going to be good for your search engine rankings, because Google will actually penalize you for not having that, and they're going to rank your competition above you, because they'll probably have a mobile website if you don't. Not to mention, it's not a good experience for your website visitors. You want to give your website visitors the best experience possible, because at the end of the day, if they have a good experience, if they're able to easily digest your content, they're going to hang around with you. They're more likely to engage with your content, share your content, maybe write a comment, which helps your reputation score as well. And you want them to stay around, because they might opt into your list, they might purchase through your affiliate link, they might buy one of your products. There's all sorts of things they can do if they stay around. Now, if they land on your site on a phone, which a lot of people have mobile phones out there, it's a huge industry now. In fact, a lot of people, the majority of web searches are slowly going in that direction, where they're starting to be on mobile devices. And so you're going to lose a big chunk of your audience if you're not mobile friendly. And it also happens to be an SEO ranking factor. Use Google Analytics to remove pages getting high bounce rates. That's another thing you can do today. So using the Google Analytics tool, it's a great piece of software. It's a simple code that you can actually put on your website, and what it will do is it will actually let you know, like, what pages on your website are people engaging with, meaning are they staying around, are they reading this content? And that tells you multiple factors. It'll tell you things like, well, maybe I should improve the content on this page, or maybe this content is no good. One thing that you want to look at when you're actually doing this evaluation of your content is look at your pages getting 90% to 100% bounce rate. You might be surprised, there are probably some pages on your website that people are actually not even really staying on, meaning they're just landing on that page and they're bouncing off of it. A bounce rate means they land on that page and they leave. It does not mean, now if they land on your page and they end up clicking onto another page within your website, they wouldn't count that as a hard hard bounce. And so that's what we're talking about. We're talking about the pages that have 90 to 100% bounce rate, meaning they land on that content and they don't go anywhere else on your website. Now, obviously, if it's something like a squeeze page or a landing type page where they basically have one choice, which is to either leave your site or opt in to get more information, that's a different story. That's, those pages are fine. But if we're talking a page with content, with an article that you wrote, and you're seeing that you're getting a high bounce rate, you should probably tweak that content, revisit that page, or eventually just remove it altogether, because it's going to ultimately drive down your reputation score because people aren't engaged with that content very well. And so you want to kind of get rid of that if you can. Make sure you have a blog in place, and it's something that most websites should have. It doesn't matter if you have an e-commerce website where you're selling physical products or something on a website. It doesn't matter if you are selling digital products like information courses or training. If you do not have a blog on your website, you are missing out on a lot of business opportunities. This even goes for small businesses, even small business restaurants. You could share recipes, you could share content, share what's on your mind about your local community. So it does not matter if you're a local business, if you're a brick and mortar type business. It does not matter if you're into apparel and screen printing. There are ways that you could actually generate content. Even people that target senior citizens. I've actually seen quality blogs on websites, related to, how things like wheelchairs and things of that nature. You can create content around what your audience wants based on the products that you're carrying. So let's say, for example, you're selling survival gear. You could do a blog all about survival tips, things to survive out in the wild or survive if the economy crashes or whatever the case might be. You could do blogs about that and then recommend them into products. Having a blog creates link building opportunities and it improves the freshness of your website. Now, if you already have a blog in place, this is also, kind of hopefully this spurs you in the direction of wanting to do more with your blog, meaning add more content to it, because that's going to increase link building opportunities from social shares. Because when you have a blog that has articles and content, there's a chance people could share it. If you have quality enough content, meaning you have a good list of resources or really good content, there's a good chance somebody may link to it, or that you could actually approach people and say, hey, I've got this really great resource. You might want to add it, and I think your audience will appreciate it. So there's link building opportunities. With SEO today, website load time is also very important. As we've already pointed out, user experience is very important to Google, and it should also be important to you, because if your customers and your visitors are not having a good experience on your website, meaning it doesn't look good on their mobile devices, it's slow to load, you're going to lose people. End of story. You're going to lose people. And so, therefore, your website load time is extremely important to your SEO strategy. So you want to look at your website load and how to improve that. You want to incorporate, encourage, and improve social sharing. We talked about that with the reputation part, and that means having buttons for Facebook, for Twitter, for Google+, for LinkedIn, where it makes sense, maybe Pinterest if you have a website that's heavy on images. Aim for above the fold sharing. And when I say above the fold sharing, I'm referring to when people land on your website, if they have to scroll to the bottom of your website to find out your social media links, then it's actually a problem, because you're not going to get the kind of engagement you're looking for. It does not mean you can't have those things at the bottom of a page, but you should also have them near the top of an article. And so once they finish the article, then they could easily share it as well. But you also want to make sure when people land on your page, if they're having to scroll, or if you go to your website and you're having to scroll to look for these social sharing buttons, you're actually hurting yourself and you're hurting your chances of getting social sharing out there, because social sharing is a big part and you want to incorporate and encourage that. You could use social sharing plugins if you have a WordPress site. One example of a plugin that's been around for a while, it's called the Dig plugin, and there's many others out there besides just this Dig plugin that do this. Add This is another tool. It has social sharing tools that you could add to any basic HTML website. You could also incorporate it in with a WordPress site, and it's just called Add This. You could also do a search for plugins on WordPress and type in social media plugins. You could type in top social plugins for 2014 or 2015 if you want to find the most latest and up-to-date ones from top bloggers. Use a unified social brand and front, whenever you're doing your strategy on the internet. So your same social media profile or cover logo should be across your Facebook, across your Google Plus, across your Twitter, across your LinkedIn if applicable. And you should really be leveraging that. Basically the same logo that people are accustomed to on your blog, the same logo they're accustomed to on your business cards, or the same logo they're accustomed to on your e-commerce store. You should have the similar front. It doesn't mean it has to be the exact same, because obviously each one of these social media profiles will have different requirements about the sizing and how it looks, but it should be a unified social brand front. It's going to help your audience, and ultimately it's going to help them engage with you better through social media, which helps your reputation up. Again, keep your branding similar across these channels. Creating engaging content. This one's absolutely huge. And this is where, if you have a blog, it's going to make it a lot easier for you to create it, because a tool like WordPress makes creating content super simple. And what we're covering here, again, are all SEO strategies that work well today. And engaging content, this means content that gets people excited, that people want to share. Remember in the last slide I just talked about, for example, if you were looking for a social sharing plugin, you could actually Google search the phrase top social sharing plugins. That is a perfect example of engaging quality content. And the reason it is because if you're searching for that, like top let's say top plugins or top social sharing plugins, that would be a great article. Or the top, things like, the top 10 ways to get back with your ex, or the top 10 ways to improve your golf game, the top 5 diet methods that are working now, the top 6 exercises you can do from home. Those kind of things do well. Curating content from top sources. So that means going out to top sites, maybe Yahoo News, other sources, finding quality articles from the big players in your niche. If you have a golfing website, we're going to kind of use golf as an example throughout this course, just because it's a big niche market and it's easy for people to relate to. And so if you had a golf website, you could go out to golfmagazine.com, maybe the golfchannel.com. They have a big website, and you could actually find an article from one of their golf pros, and you could share that article on your site. But what you could actually do is you could add your own opinion. That's where the curation part comes from. So you could maybe take a quote or a snippet from that article, link over to that article so you're not, plagiarizing it, but then you write a paragraph or two describing how you feel about this article, what your opinion is on this workout they're recommending, what your opinion is on these golf courses that maybe they're recommending. You could also go around to the top golfing articles in your niche, the top weight loss articles, the top fitness articles. Go around on the internet, maybe compile 25 different resources, really quality exercises, quality things that would help people improve their golf game, that would help people improve their finances, help people do whatever it is your niche is about. Compile 25 resources, 25 super quality articles, and then you do an article that says, hey, here are the top 25 ways that you can, these are the top 25 weight loss tips. And what you could do is do a post based on that. And you could, again, link to each one of these articles that you have found. And then you could actually contact each one of these 25 people and say, hey, I mentioned your website on my blog. Would you consider sharing this to your followers? And then they could go around, share it on their social media. They may not all do it, but some will. They may link to it from their website. This builds up link building opportunities for you. It gives your visitors quality content that they're finding on your website, and it also builds rapport from other people within your niche. Or like, hey, this person is legitimate. He's creating good content, and it's also going to get those people you mentioned to like you more, and maybe they're going to help promote you down the road. So that's a good quick example of what curating content is. It's where you're not really creating the content, you're going out there and doing some effort, and maybe you add a paragraph or two opinion, or you add a sentence or two about what you liked about the article, just to add that unique content to it. So it's not just a list, but it also helps because it gives people a resource. People love resources, and they love to be able to find that. So that's a great example of creating engaging content by curation. Link out to relevant and valuable sites or resources. Kind of mentioned that in that last strategy. But what that does is that also helps. Google, it used to be back in the day, people were like, well, be careful about, how often you link out. And you still want to be, to a point, you want to be very, very careful about who you link to. Obviously, you don't want to link to a bad or spammy website, because that actually will do more harm for you. You want to link to quality websites that have good content. You want to link to websites that you find showing up in Google. It's basically helps. It's like these links kind of help make the internet go around, and Google appreciates that when you're sharing relevant sources, as do your website visitors. create top 5, top 7, top 10 lists, top 25 lists, top 100 lists. You could do an article, top 50 ways to make extra money, top 50 ways to make extra money before Christmas. Whatever time of year you're in, you could do that. Top 101 website traffic strategies. So these kind of things get people excited. They're going to want to land on that resource. Encourage guest posters for unique articles, and you want to be very choosy here. You want to make sure it's from a quality source. You want to make sure the website that maybe they have or that they own is a quality website, and this could be something where it's more like an invite only. You want to be careful about just throwing up on your site that you're looking for guest bloggers, because that can invite all kinds of people that just want to get exposure from your site. So you want to be very choosy here, but you could go out to people that have good quality blogs in your niche and say, hey, look, I noticed the kind of quality you put out. Would you be interested in writing an article for my visitors? You want to make sure it's a unique article, but if it's a quality person, then it's going to really help you, and it's a win-win because they get exposure to your audience. Embed videos from YouTube and put in your own input. Now, again, you want to combine all of these engaging content strategies when you're doing your SEO. You don't want to just do one of these. So you don't want to have a website that's just of embedded YouTube videos with your reviews. You want to have websites that have embedded YouTube videos, that have infographics, that have curated top resources, that have your own articles or how-to articles. Things like, like WikiHow or eHow. Those kind of websites do really well because it's like 7 steps on how to do stuff, or 10 steps, or 6 steps, whatever the case is. 6 steps to list your product on eBay. All these how-to type articles do very well also. Include your own videos, create your own videos. Maybe incorporate, if you have a podcast, link to your audio on there. These are all ways to get all kinds of different content. So you've got audio content, video content, graphics content, lists, you've got curated content. These are all elements to creating an engaging content that's going to get people to come back to you. Again, you don't have to do all this at once. You could do maybe a post a week or a couple really good posts per month, and then work hard on promoting those posts. Create content that interests your target market. You know what kind of things they want. You could go out to Yahoo Answers and see what kinds of questions they're asking related to your niche. You can find out what your audience wants, and you could do that. Resource list. You could also consider outsourcing your content. If the content part of things is just too much for you, then you could outsource it. Now, you want to be careful here because you don't want to just hire any writer that's not maybe good at speaking English or writing in English. If that's what language your website is in, then you want to really focus on quality writers that are familiar with the language, that do good work, and you want to review their resources and work that they've done before. iWriter.com, you can actually find some really good writers on there. There's a pile of them on there. Freelancer.com has a bunch. Another source called onlinejobs.ph, it's out there. It's another source. It's a paid source, but you can actually find some good writers from the Philippines area that are actually English speakers that have gone through English courses. And you could, again, review what kind of content they've done. You don't want to just hire anybody, but you want to be careful. Odesk.com is another one that you could easily outsource. Freelance writing gigs, it's another website where you could post your writing projects. Any website like freelancer.com, Odesk, again, you want to vet them out. You want to see what kind of products or content they've created in the past, and you want to make sure you give them examples of other blogs or other websites in your niche and say, this is the kind of content that I want you to create. Be very specific about their task, and make sure you let them know, hey, I want you to use images within your content, because images is another key factor for having engaging content. Because if you have good images, then you could share that content on Pinterest. That means when that article gets shared on Facebook, it may pull in that image, which is going to help it as well, get more social searches, more social likes or social shares. Those things, again, are going to help your reputation score and overall help your traffic, because that's what we're all after. In the next video, we're going to talk about understanding search results so you get a better idea of how the search engines are working.